Mark here from Mark 2.0. Paul, David, welcome to the podcast. We are so thrilled to have you on. I want to start out by asking you, when did you first have a passion for music? Was it when you were a kid or later on in your life?
Well, great question. I always loved music. Music was around our house growing up all the time. And, one of the things I really think is interesting that I never actually became a drag queen because I really loved lip syncing to the records that my parents had growing up. And I grew up in the 70s, and it didn't grow up with a traditional classic rock household. My dad was very much into World War II music, so Glenn Miller, Benny Goodman, all the swing bands. And then my mom was really more of an easy listening bent, so we had the Carpenters and Captain and Tennille, and a much more mellow mix of music growing up. It was so much fun to dance around and sing and lip sync, and it just was something that really stuck. And then, of course, growing up in church choir and things like that, and playing instruments in band just really seeded that love of music in my heart.
I'm having flashbacks to my 70s.
I know. We used to listen to the Carpenters in the car.
Oh, the Carpenters. Oh, I can't believe I'm not a drag queen. I know every ABBA song. I still
100%.
know all the words. I know the ABBA-esque things that were redone. It was just like awesome. I love all that stuff, and I love all the 70s stuff. And my parents were the same way. Not really swing, but the more Beatles along with that stuff. But but please go on. I'm having great memories.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, we had our Simon and Garfunkel too, and
another one.
Tapestry. That was one of my cousins. My mom's sister's side of the family had more of the rock influence.
What about John Denver at all? No.
So funny story. In elementary school, we would do sing-alongs every week, and we started singing John Denver songs. And he actually did a stint here in Minneapolis back in the 60s. Which I didn't know about till recently, but I really asked my mom. I said I wanted a John Denver record, and for Christmas, and so she was going to get me one, and I unwrapped the present, and it wasn't John Denver, it was C.W. McCall, and I'll get to that in a second. Sure. And I said, Mom, I asked for John Denver, and her comment to me is, well, he looks like John Denver.
Oh,
and
dear.
Sure did. He had glasses on,
heart.
But that's about it. But C.W. McCall, if you don't recall, had the song Convoy. Which was a huge hit in the 70s.
I remember Convoy.
That's right. And I got into him before Convoy. And actually, there would not be a Mannheim Steamroller if there wasn't a C.W. McCall. All of that money that he made off Convoy helped Chris Davis, who produced that record, fund the Mannheim Steamroller project. And you wouldn't have your Fresh Air Christmas if it weren't for Convoy.
Wow.
Excellent.
Yeah. Fascinating. Oh my gosh. So you grew up in Minnesota. You're from Minnesota. Where are your parents from?
Minnesota. Actually, everyone is from Minneapolis. All really stuck here. I went to school in Iowa. I went to Coe College in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and have a degree in percussion performance. I studied in New York for about 6 months and moved back to Minneapolis because at the time, Prince was really doing his thing here, and by God, I was going to be a rock star. And that was just a really
he was there too, right?
Well, she came in and flew in every once in a while, but she's truly based out of Oakland and always had her stuff.
Okay. I knew she was good friends of Prince.
Yeah, she is. Oh, they were more than just good friends. But really played with a lot of albums. And then Janet Jackson, of course, right after that time, came in and worked with Terry and Jimmy out at Flight Time Studios, which is in one of our suburbs here, Edina, which is fairly close to where I live.
Sure.
Actually, close to where I grew up.
So what about the Jets? Do you remember the Jets, that 80s group?
Jets were from here. Yeah. Absolutely. Coon Rapids, I believe, off the top of my head, but I may be making that up.
Okay.
But the Jets, Maserati, the Family, the Time, there's so many bands. Totally blank in my, just went out of my head right there, but so many bands that have made it big. The Replacements, if you're familiar with that, Husker Du. Just so many cool.
I think Information Society had someone from
started here, but then moved out to LA.
Oakland or something like that.
Lizzo is from here.
Wow.
She's doing her thing. And a lot of people would come in here and specifically to work with Prince, but just the music scene here, the music in the theater and the food scene here are amazing. If you ever want to visit, I highly recommend June through September.
Brian's been to Mall of America. That's where you're from, that city, right?
Yeah, Bloomington, right. I grew up, because I'm old, I grew up when the Mall of America was still the Met Stadium. So
Wow.
that's
Okay.
what I remember going and selling for Boy Scouts. I think selling pop at the concession stands at the Met Stadium. But Mall of America, we locals maybe go once a year or avoid it altogether. It's huge.
It's huge. Yeah, Brian was telling me.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
I've seen
it's pretty
videos on it,
amazing.
so yeah, I know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I get dragged there about once a year.
What about
What-
your percussion career? I wanted to ask you about that. And was that freelance or did you actually talk about that?
Yeah, actually, so great question. I started. How I got my start was I was in high school and I needed something to do when I went to college, and I like music, so I became a musician. I was going to actually go into education and teach, and then pretty soon after I got to school, I found I really don't like kids too much. So it probably wasn't a great career choice. I kid a little bit, but I've taught drum lines and things for many, many years, and I've had private students. I stopped private lessons probably about 10, 15 years ago just because of other things. Most of my work now is freelance. I do a lot of theater drumming. I work for many theater companies here in the Twin Cities doing shows. I happen to be a really great sight reader. So if they need somebody to come in and do a show, they'll call me up. And many shows I've played ice cold, turn the score, see what comes next. Okay, that's
nice.
cool. But also it keeps my percussion chops really sharp. When I was in college, I discovered an instrument called the marimba. And if you've not heard of it, it's like a bass xylophone, really warm and woody. And I really got into doing that. And I was going to be the next, there's a musician called Lee Howard Stevens, who's a phenomenal marimbist who would do really cool stuff. And but I was also a rock and roll child. And so at the same time I was in college doing this marimba stuff, I had a purple mohawk. So there's a dichotomy of a classical musician with this purple mohawk in the 1980s that just didn't really bode well for my career choices. So graduating from college, I moved on to some other things, but kept doing the freelance percussion work. And in fact, I've got another show coming up called Striking 12 here, where I actually get to act as well. They have a song, believe this or not. There's a musical, it's a brand new musical, and it has a song for the drummer, which is called something about give something to the drums. I just got this email this week, so I'm going to probably take this gig, but I get to actually sing as I'm drumming, which is a perfect combination of all of my skills. When I graduated from college and doing all the percussion work, so I played timpani, I played xylophone, mallets, all that kind of stuff. Drum set is my main instrument right now. But I also discovered a instrument called the hand pan. You'll find a lot of videos on YouTube. It's a huge instrument in Europe. It's basically an inverted steel drum that sounds kind of like a steel drum, looks like a UFO, but the coolest sound. There's two drums there. That's the hand pan, and then there's something that's a tongue drum that's like it. And one of my singles in Paradisum is me playing that drum, which is a really hypnotic, melodic, very relaxing drum. A lot of people use it for yoga or meditation. Not really big here in the Twin Cities, or actually in the United States at all. I think there's maybe one other person in the state of Minnesota. I happen to have three of them, to my husband's chagrin. I keep buying them because they're so cool and they're all pitched a little bit differently, but they're really hypnotic. So if you listen to my track in Paradisum, that's me playing that really relaxing drum, along with some other percussion that I happen to play in shows. I happened to record that during the pandemic when I got furloughed, and I went to my basement and pulled out every toy that I had acquired over my playing hundreds of shows, and have probably 10 of them on that track.
Oh, do you put those on YouTube? You could loop those and live them. Yeah.
They are.
Actually, you're smart.
I love it.
Yeah, I've got a couple things on YouTube. I bought this really cool incense burner that's a dragon, and you put this cone on its head and it smokes out of its nose and rolls down. And so there's a video of me with playing the Rav drum, which is actually the brand that I play is a Rav Voss. Playing that with this smoking meditation with this dragon. And then there's also meditation. Right when COVID hit, I did this meditation with the drum. It's called Meditation for the World, where it's me playing the drum and then just reciting a meditation to try to bring some healing to the craziness that was going on right as the pandemic started, as well as in Paradisum. And then a couple other skits.
Great idea.
Around. Yeah, it's smart. Really a fun, cool drum.
Wow. So if you had someone you could jam with right now, who are you looking up to? Who would you jam with?
Oh man, there's so many people in so many different genres. So one of the things that's hard to categorize is I play everything: jazz, classical, rock, pop, funk. Paul Peterson here in the Twin Cities, who was a member of the Time and the Family, is also a friend. Facebook friend mostly, but I've worked with his sister quite a few times. He'd be a really cool person to jam with because he's connected to flipping everybody, and like myself, better than myself. He's a multi-instrumentalist who plays a couple of instruments that I don't, but I think he'd be a really fun person to jam with, and just has a great spirit, very giving heart. And he's out touring with the Minneapolis Funk All-Stars right now. I think he's going to be in Los Angeles next week with Matt Fink, who is one of the people I've recorded with. So Matt Fink, Dr. Fink of Prince and the Revolution, and I did a single together back in 2013 called Superhuman. And it was really a lifelong dream. So being a kid in the 80s growing up and from Minneapolis, I really, really felt an attraction to Prince's music, and in more ways than one. It spoke to me at that age so greatly. And, you know, if you really want to answer the question, who I wish I could have jammed with in this lifetime, would have been Prince. You know, so that's a loss where when he died, I actually couldn't listen to his music for a year because I cannot explain how it hit me so strongly. But one of the cool things is while he was still alive, I was making Superhuman, and he was coming out with his group Third Eye Girl. And while Matt and I were working in the studio together, by the way, a great musician, just a great guy, super creative, a really bucket list experience working with him. But as we were going through there, the Third Eye Girl site was coming online, and they were Matt was doing a group, Purple Experience, where he was a cover band for Prince, and which Prince wasn't a huge fan of, but he made some jabs at Matt online. And while I was there in the studio, he was seeing it for the first time, which is a really interesting experience. And 1 degree of separation, man, 1 degree of separation.
You know, I remember that time clearly being, and, you know, I was like into metal and stuff like that at the time, but when Prince died, I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, even though it wasn't my genre, it was just so big. And all the guys who were into metal and stuff still said, I'm from Minnesota. And the music scene is insane there. And it wasn't just, you know, that type of music. It was all kinds of stuff. It was just like something. Are you able to do this full time? Are you able to I mean, you have great energy. It sounds like you're busy all the time.
So I actually have a day job. I'm the director of employee development for a local food service management company, which specializes in K-12 lunches. So we're your school lunch ladies. My responsibility with this company is to train them and educate them. So I don't necessarily do the music full time, except that it always finds its way into my training. So everything we do has to have, you know, you got to have a training track. Well, those are all those are all my songs. In fact, on my latest single, Artist Prayer, I did an extended single just because I had stuff that I haven't released laying out there. And there's a song called Together We that was actually for our virtual conference last year. We were looking for ways to connect to people in the pandemic, and we were all mostly remote working except our frontline workers who were out there in the field every day. And so I created a song that kind of described what was going on. So it's sort of corporate and sort of cheesy, but it's kind of a middle of the road country thing. And damn if that thing isn't catchy as all get out. I will actually, when it comes up on my iPod in my car, I will let it play through. So anyway, that's part of what I released. So I do get to do the music in many capacities. I also work part-time for a church doing music. I'm their instrumental music coordinator. I do the bell choir, the orchestra, the praise band. I do all the arranging, is all custom arrangements.
What is it that you haven't done, Paul? Seriously.
You're keeping busy.
Not in the football.
Okay.
You know, what I really say is, you know, life is so exciting and there's so many cool things to do. And, you know, you're either living or you're not. And I want to embrace, you know, all the sweetness of life. I think it's Waldo Emerson. I want to suck out the marrow and find not that when I have come to die that I've not really lived. You know, I want to have that excitement. So all these fun things are the part of me that is creative, and that above all is really what I am. I'm a creative spirit. I'm a creative soul. So ways to express that. You know, I'm not a great artist. You know, actually the cover for Superhuman, if you go look that up, that actually is my artwork. I drew that when I was like in 8th grade, and I thought it was just so kitschy. And I should say Superhuman is sort of a B-52s meets Robin, if you're familiar with Robin. It's very 1960s vibe, but also has a lot of ska in it. And so I wanted to do something, you know, kind of kitschy for the cover. And so that just really struck me as a fun way to do that. So that's actually my art. So I guess I can say that I've, you know, done something that's been released.
Mark, what did you send me? His website?
That was
I
What
was
was
playing
that?
your songs and they're fantastic.
Yeah, I
Oh,
love
thanks,
them.
man.
I think it was in
No,
one of the articles that you
I was
sent me.
texting Mark right away. I'm like, these are great.
This is great.
They're they're super different. I mean, and one of the things that I took from Prince and really from my growing up is a variety of music. I want to have, as a percussionist, I approach music differently than say maybe a guitar player or a piano player.
And it
They might
showed
think,
in your performances. It was like listening to Peter Chris's solo album. I'm like, this is all about the drums. It's so cool. And it had
oh,
like all this nice stuff over it.
100%. It's all about the groove. The grooves are there. They're funky. We Can Be Free. If you listen to that one, there's a couple of different mixes out there. That one actually has an udu, which is like a clay drum from Africa.
Oh
That
yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and so I took that through a processor, and
Mm.
it's got this amazing low tone. So on the dance mix, I actually take that udu and just a boom, boom, boom is that clay drum run through a processor, which is just not something you hear out there. I like to take sounds that are found, so to speak. So there's a song, and it's a fun story. So I have a song called Karen Wants a Reservation. So before my current role, I worked for a department store company here in the Twin Cities that was bought out by Macy's, and they closed our flagship store 2017-ish. And we had a restaurant that I was managing at the time that was very popular here in the Twin Cities called the Oak Grill. It had been around since 1919, I want to say. Okay. It was a men's smoking club that then became a full, open to everyone, and just was iconic here in the Twin Cities. And as I was managing that and we were closing and everybody found out about it, that holiday season, everybody wanted a reservation and we couldn't keep up. So we went to just simply doing online reservations, and we had this little old lady, God bless her heart, who, even though the voicemail said, don't leave a message, we're not going to check messages, left me 2 voicemails just in her, I'm assuming from her perspective, reaming me out. But she's the nicest old, I mean, it's just, she doesn't swear. God bless America is about the best you get. And then after she's done cursing out, she goes, have a nice day, take care. Anyway, I was entering a song contest for a beats contest, which is not really a genre that I'm good at, but I was playing around with it. And I came up with this and found this, I recorded these voicemails because I thought they were hysterical. So the song Karen Wants a Reservation is actually found audio turned into a song about this lady who I don't have a .com. She couldn't use a computer. I believe we ultimately let her in because she was there every day anyway, but the story was so fun. And the music was just such a different thing. So I like that kind of found sound. In my song, We Can Be Free, my dog is barking. I was recording something and she barked. So now she becomes looped with a clap in verse 3, where I actually have her barking on a song. Things that are different, things that are unique, really make me smile, and it allows us to expand our oral vocabulary. But it's always about rhythm. It's always about texture. So if you listen to Sunshine After the Rain, there's a couple of loops in there, but there's always live percussion on top of that. And some of that was because as I was growing in my recording abilities, I couldn't quite get a great drum sound yet. I've since gotten that. Artist Prayer is me playing drums live with loops in the background underneath for just, again, that little bit of texture. Because I use a shaker a lot, and I thought maybe I needed something different because every song's got a shaker on it because it's sitting right there by my desk, and it's such a nice texture and timbre to throw in.
I was going to ask you about what you would offer young musicians, but I think we're hearing it right now.
Yeah. The most important thing, I'm going to keep interrupting. Sorry about that. I talk a lot.
Great.
No, we love you. This is great.
The most important thing I can offer to young musicians is this: no matter what, you need to trust and do you. Don't let people are going to be cruel. One of the things as you release your stuff to the world and you ask for opinions is people often have them. And some of them are going to be supportive and some of them are going to not be. And really to not lose heart and just keep doing what you do. I am not the greatest drummer in the world. I'm not the greatest singer in the world. I am definitely not the greatest guitar player in the world. Hire somebody to do most of my guitar work. But I know that my voice is my voice. And, and there are times when I've gotten criticisms that have set me back, that have been just like, damn, I got to sit with that for a bit. And I get in the mood and then I work through it. But, for the young musicians out there trying stuff, just keep doing it. I am not necessarily a real big fan of things like American Idol, where you're being judged against each other because you never know what other gifts lie there. So don't be don't think that's the only way to start them. I mean, I am
Sure.
not 25. And my dream is still to be a rock star. And I'm not going to be Prince. I'm not going to be Harry Styles. I'm not going to be, Madonna or any of the other iconic people that are out there. I'm not Avril Lavigne. I'm not, anybody that I'm not thinking of anyone current, because, that's it just shows how old I am. But I'm going to do what I do, and I'm going to release it, and it's going to reach certain people. And of this billions and billions of people on the planet, there's going to be a bunch of them that are going to really dig what I do. And as a budding musician, stick with that. Focus on those things. You do your music for you. Don't try to be a star. Don't try to do anything. The rest of it will take care of itself. And it may not be what you think, but you never know how your music is going to touch into someone. You never know how your actions are going to bless those people around you. Bless yourself first. That's the first place to start. That's really my advice to those people starting out, not to get frustrated and not to listen to everyone else. Just you do you, boo.
Now, as far as your music, what is the best platform to get your music out there? Is it Spotify, Apple, YouTube, you name it?
So do you want to make money, or do you want to get your music out there? Because those are two different things. So
please explain.
Please explain. Yeah.
Yeah. Streaming is a great way to get noticed, but it's not necessarily a way to make much money. So for every stream, you make like 0.000395 cents. So to even get a penny, your streaming has to be off the charts, which is difficult. There are places, and even YouTube, it's a great place to have videos. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm on every streaming platform, available on every streaming platform now. Apple Music, when you're selling singles and things, you make some money. Bandcamp is a great site to have a site on where you get most of the proceeds. In fact, tomorrow on Bandcamp, 100% of the proceeds go to the artist. They're not taking any fees. So that's a phenomenal way, and it's a reminder to myself to put my ad up to go on Bandcamp tomorrow for my fans. But that's the way where I make more of the money, or your own personal website where you sell directly. But again, it's what I'm really looking for is I'm looking for that licensing deal. I have sold a song as a Christian artist, which is also, again, most of my background is in the church. So in the early 2000s, I sold a song to Marcia Stevens, who is the mother of godmother of contemporary Christian music. She wrote a song called "For Those Tears I Died," and back in the 60s, that was contemporary Christian. One of her groups bought one of my communion songs and recorded it back in the day. And I think my biggest royalty check was $36, but it's $36 I didn't have before. So, if you're going to make money, again, you're going to do it through live shows, you're going to do merchandise, you're going to through your direct sales. But the best way to get yourself heard is to get out there on Spotify, on Amazon Music, and then, really try to make connections with your fellow musicians to get on playlists so people can be exposed to your music. And that's really, things like this podcast are great. And thank you for doing this. Because
sure. This is a lot of fun for us.
Well, it's a great way to teach people about who are never going to see me, because I really only tour around Minneapolis. I play a lot. I play every single week. It's just mostly in theaters or churches or, weddings or things like that. The pandemic just kind of crashed every other kind of gig out there, and we're slowly rebuilding back, and more venues are opening up, and now I got to get the band back together, but the musicians have found other things to do, so it's a struggle. But getting your music out there, getting exposed to it, is just really keeping on it and remembering that you can't just tell somebody once. You got to tell them at least 11 times before they notice it. Sometimes I get tired of I feel like, God, people are going to be so sick of hearing from me, but that's the only way to really get that name out there. And I've built a modest fan base. I'm big in Romania. I had, believe it or not, I had two people. This may not sound like much, but I had two people in a club in Berlin, Shazam Superhuman. That means that some club was playing my song in a country I've never been to, and two people at that venue thought, hey, this is a pretty cool tune. It's not a lot, but it's the beginning of your journey. And as you go through this process, you find those wins and you celebrate those wins. I know I like what I do, and I'm probably my biggest fan. I listen to my stuff a lot because that's why I made it. I made it for me, and I enjoy it. So, it's thrown in the mix with all the other things. I mean, who doesn't love a good Harry Styles or a good Madonna track, right?
Awesome, man. And we were hearing last night how Kevin was hiring people from other countries as his basically backup and stuff, for all kinds of things. And God bless the internet, So any live performances you'd like to share with us, like your favorite live performance, maybe?
Oh, my favorite, me or viewing someone?
You.
Oh, God, that's, most of my band performances, I had some really good ones back in the day, but a lot of it focused on theater work just because of the day job schedule. And there were some really fun shows I played. The theater company I work with does a lot of off Broadway stuff. Jerry Springer the Opera, just amazingly bizarre and fun. Evil Dead the Musical, where we did blood splattering on the stage. There was actually a splash zone and really fun rock tunes. And that one I got to really play out. The Great American Trailer Park Musical. And I'm on stage for these, so I'm acting through this whole process. I did not keep a straight face any performance. It was just amazing. We just did one in a car dealership. So in the 1990s, there was a contest where in Texas, you put your hand on a hard body Toyota, and whoever was still standing at the end won the Toyota.
I remember those type of contests. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they did a documentary on it, and someone turned it into a musical. And so we rented out a car dealership this spring and did this musical about a car dealership in a car dealership. I mean, that is so freaking cool.
How fun is that?
That was so cool. High Fidelity, the John Cusack movie.
Yeah, I remember that one. Lisa Bonet.
Same composer did a musical called High Fidelity, and we have a very famous record store. And if you're a Prince follower, you'll know it's the last place he bought a record called Electric Fetus. We did that musical in the flippin' record store. So those are just more bizarre, cool things. I remember, gigs way back in the day. We did this wedding in Iowa where the stage was a hay wagon. And they invited us to have lunch, and there were flies in the pudding, and so we chose not to eat. I mean, there's stories upon stories. I played in a Sears once. That was with a jazz group, and we were probably not sober at that moment, but that was a bizarre gig.
Great.
I mean, there's so many fun stories. Just anytime you can play live is great. Anytime you can make that connection with people that's the whole reason to do this.
You don't see much about digital things. I mean, do you miss the old days, record stores and all that? Or there we go.
I got records right here, man.
Yeah. Oh, nice. So you did, yeah. I was the same way. I was always going to record stores growing up.
So digital was great, and in the 90s, it really is cool. And I tell you, I love the amount of music that my phone can hold versus the cassettes I used to have in my car. But we've really switched back to digital. I pretty much, instead of I'll download a digital track so I could have it for my iPhone, but I will buy the vinyl because it's just a different sound. It's warmer, it's cooler, and there's a lot of used record stores now that are really continuing to prop up in a bunch of cities. Where it's really fun. Actually, last weekend we were just down at one here in one of our suburbs, just combing through the bins, trying to find that one thing that you had when you were younger. Or that the newer one that you'd like to really hear on vinyl. I collect both. I mean, I still do both. They both have their place. Like I said, digital is a great way actually, and I haven't pressed Artist Prayer yet, but that's my graphic designer's working on the artwork for it. But I'm going to make not a ton of them because not everybody's into vinyl, but it's really fun to have yourself on vinyl.
Sure. Now, what about for growing up? What was your first concert, and what was that like? I remember mine was you're gonna laugh. It was Survivor and Paul Rogers at the Allegan County Fair. I'm from Michigan, so it was at the fairgrounds, and I'm like, this is just so cool.
I'm not gonna laugh because actually, my very first concert that I would ever recall was with mom and dad. Was with a folk group called the New Christie Minstrels. They are, you just got to Google it because it speaks for itself. It's very suburban, very Caucasian music. So that was one that I recall going to. But my first concert I would say I went to was at the fair also was Manhattan Transfer. I was big into show choirs and seeing them with Spyro Gyra was really, really cool.
What did their stage look like?
It was a state fair, so that back in that day, it was just the instruments and playing. But the first concert I actually went to, I would say was my first concert, was the Kilroy is Here tour from Styx, where they did the whole theater piece.
Yes.
That was my baptism to concerts in like what I would call a rock concert, and that was such a theater element to it as well. Really fit in with everything that I was, and I'm still a huge Styx fan. They're also on my
I saw them with Bad Company and Billy Squire.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was But it was after Dennis DeYoung. You got to see him in the heyday.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And during the tour that broke them up because of the
exactly.
because of playing the rubato type music.
It was such a huge risk for them, but just such an amazing production. I mean, it was so far ahead of its time, but yeah, it totally broke the band up because it went in different directions, and
But then again, they're still going strong without him.
Right, absolutely.
So,
yeah, what was your first concert, Mark? Because I don't think fair concerts count. So what was your first
No, that's where they had him in Michigan. This is before the arenas popped up in Michigan.
Oh, so that was the only.
So I went to Survivor. It was with Paul Rogers, a Bad Company, and then I went to one at Muskegon, outside in Muskegon. I think it was at the fairgrounds or whatever it was, and it was Styx, Bad Company, and Billy Squire, all three of them, and it was like $20 to see all three of them.
Oh, I know the price. They've definitely changed.
Wow. Yeah, mine was Kiss. Wow, that's awesome. There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, I am that old. That's right. So what would it take to get you out of Minnesota? Some big gig or something?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I travel for work quite a bit, and sometimes I bring my instruments with, sometimes I don't. But yeah, any big gig would be great. I'd love to get over to Europe and do some work over there. That would be really fun. Very fun to Paris. I just think I might have a good connection. I obviously have to go to Berlin. That's now on my list.
Oh gosh.
And I have one sweet fan. She's an 86-year-old woman in Romania. Wow. And we talk through Google Translate because she doesn't speak English. I think I got her when I was advertising in Paradisum. And so she became a fan of mine on Facebook, and I talk to her once a week, and it's just pleasantries, but she's my one super fan in Romania, 86-year-old lady.
Bless her heart. Wow, that makes it great, doesn't it? Jeez, God.
Now, how do you find out where all these people are from? You have the ability to track that?
Well, there's analytics, so you can check it out. And her Facebook profile tells where she lives. But yeah, it's all about looking. And also, if you want to track that, as a business person, I kind of want to know where I'm, influencing and where I'm targeting. So I tend to target places. I got friends. So I've got my college roommates in Venezuela. So I always target down there. So just, maybe you'll see my song there. Europe is always more forgiving of American music than some American cities are. So I always target Europe, generally Paris and London and Germany, and then my family is from Slovakia, so I had to just slot. That my last name is Stanko, and that's Slovak. Stankovic was what it was originally. So I target that area just out of sheer love for family, and then of course the United States, just because we're here.
Well, you're an incredibly busy guy. I thought I was busy, I mean,
yeah, we thought we were busy.
Yeah. What does the future hold for Paul David? I mean, what are you going to focus on in the near future?
Well, so, just so many good things. Obviously right now I'm promoting Artist Prayer, which is really a cool story. I wrote the lyrics for that in 1993 and put them in a book. And this is another advice for any young musicians: write everything down, keep it. Don't ever throw it away, because you never know when you're going to need it. I was working on something and I needed a lyric, a rhyme. So I keep cool words, cool rhymes, cool thoughts, and I just jot them down and then rework them later. Well, I found this and it was basically done. And I'm like, well, that was pretty good. Hey. So I sat down in the pandemic and then wrote the music to it. And then that's the piece that I'm releasing now. So, but I'm always creating. I've got, 3 tunes that I'm working on. One of them actually was done before my last 2 releases, but I'm not happy with my vocal performance or my recording ability. So all of this right now is done in my home studio, right here in this house that I'm in, because I was furloughed during the pandemic and really took a time to learn my digital audio workstation. Had the time to experiment that I will never have as an adult again. And months off, which is, in Minnesota here, we had a very generous unemployment policy for COVID, and that allowed me to keep the house and really build my musical repertoire. So I've got a couple tracks. One of them, actually, I've got tattooed on my arm the lyrics. I tattooed it on a bunch of years ago. It's been sitting in my archives, called Affirmation, which is the most positive song that ever existed. And it's really out there. And I think it's an important piece. So it's kind of waiting until the right time to release it, until I build up some more of a fan base. But that one's coming. I just feel really a new spark to build that. There's a song that I am working on that I originally started to do with a handpan for a full choir that was based on a meme. There was this meme that was about when I die, I will become stardust, and I'll go visit distant moons, and I'll fly around the world. It'll be all so poetic until I land on your sandwich. And I just thought that was funny as hell. And so I took that and expanded those lyrics. And so that one is Stardust once again. It's turned into a kind of a Tears for Fears-ish vibe, kind of a late 80s. That one's in process. I haven't finished fleshing it completely out, but it goes into a Afro-Cuban 6/8 in the bridge section, which is wild. So that's under construction. Then I don't remember, it was a book, and I don't know if I can swear on the podcast, so I'm just going to change the words.
Swear off.
Swear off. Go right ahead.
So there's this book called Gotta Unfuck Myself is the name of the song, and it's about unfucking yourself. Basically, the premise is when I was younger, things were different. I saw things from a different perspective. And then life, and I got older, and business and people got me jaded. And I started, I learned about self-esteem. I used to be fearless. And now I realize as I'm older, I need to unwind all of that chaos, and I've got to unfuck myself. And that's going to be a tribute to Dad in that it's kind of a swing tune. But I'm thinking, like, if you know the group Yellow, they've got a song called Race.
I've heard that song.
I'm going to slow it down a bit because I can't say the words that fast, but it's a really fun, and I'm going to do it with an Andrews Sisters style male vocal where it's 3-part harmony, really tight 3-part harmony, singing all about how I got to unfuck myself, got to get myself back to the way it used to be. Really fun, and that's been just sticking with me every morning. I've already got the form down, and it's going to have I play with a bunch of really talented musicians here in theater, and so I bring them in. In fact, Superhuman's got quite a few of them on there, and my guitar player Alex Mayers, who's on all my current tracks, I met through doing theater work. We do remote stuff where I'll lay the parts, I'll send it to him, he'll lay his parts, send them back, I mix them, and then we go, and it's rock and roll. But that's going to be a really fun one. So I'm going to keep working on those tracks. As I said, we've got Striking 12 coming up, which is a really fun show that we're going to do in a smaller theater here. Every Sunday I'm doing church work as well. So just, a lot of that kind of stuff, and keeping writing music and promoting what I've got going on.
Excellent.
Well, all these theater things, do you post any of that anywhere? Or
yeah, so when the ones I have rights to, a lot of times the gigs are always announced, and they're always on my page, and usually my header changes to whatever show I'm playing. But we don't have a lot of the rights to the music. But there's a couple out there where you can hear us playing live that have made their way to YouTube. But just I've probably done 100 shows, if not 150 different shows, and each show is probably 30 shows a show. But just everything, lots of really fun, cool, off-the-wall stuff, and then everything from like Chorus Line, My Fair Lady, West Side Story I played a bunch of times, which is a really cool show. But that's really a great way to keep my chops sharp and my reading skills sharp. So, I was trained in classical music, so I'm a classical percussionist as well. I don't do a ton of that anymore just because it's not as fulfilling as I'm a rock and roll baby, man. I got to do my rock and roll.
Let me tell you something. This is my takeaway from this. You are ready for anything at any time. 100%. And it seems like you've done a little bit of everything, and you're ready to go at any time. And what I hope is that some of the great people, we interview, they have friends and friends and friends. And again, the internet, God bless the internet. And I hope it reaches somebody and they see and feel your vibe from this interview, because I'm like blown away.
So am I.
You're killing it out there.
This is such a thrill.
And holding down this job, dude. It's like awesome. I'm just really impressed, and I hope somebody sees this soon.
The sky's the limit for you, really. It already has been.
Well, and for those out there that see this, connect, reach out. Let's talk. Let's figure something out. I love working remotely. I'm much better. And in fact, okay, so I don't want to eat up all your time, but I'll keep going as long as you let me yap.
Sure.
So during the pandemic, I worked with the Twin City Game. Okay, this is a fun story. This is talk about found sound. So, I like doing things remote. I like, adding texture and color to things, as we talked about. That's part of my palette. There's a group in the Gay Men's Chorus, a small group that did a song called, I think it's You Are Here, You Are Near, one of the two. And they sent it to me to lay some percussion down. Now, I thought, I laid down again, I got all these toys from the theater shows I played. So I did something really subtle, worked some electronic crotales in there. But that's the cool stuff. And I'm always up for everything. I do a lot of stuff. I also am a budding tarot reader. So, reach out to me for a tarot reading.
Yeah.
I do those on Zoom. But the idea of life is a smorgasbord. As Auntie Mame says, life is a banquet and most poor suckers are starving to death. There's so many really cool things to do, and there's so much about life. And it's super easy, especially in this world with all that's going on right now, to get dragged down by the negativity, from politics to, the war in Ukraine to starvation to, I'm a big New Age follower as well. And there's Esther Hicks has a following. She does channeling. And one of the things that she brings through either as herself or as a channel is, you can never make yourself sick enough to cure all the sick people. You can never make yourself poor enough to help all the poor people. So you just focus on the things you can do and let your energy spill out and let that change the world. And really what I'm doing with, my music, with who I am, all the things that are what I want to change this world. I want to take what is here and change it because it's not to my ultimate satisfaction. So I'm going to do me, I'm going to be a light, and I'm going to try to do what I can through music, through loving people, through talking with people, through engaging, and just try to make this place a better place and have a great effing time doing it,
Yeah, it's all positive and you're a lot of fun. Definitely. Yeah. So you want to go ahead and lay it down where people can really find you right now if they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now. Brand new website, just launched it yesterday.
Okay.
It's pauldavidmusic.net.
Okay. Congratulations.
And thank you. Yeah. And hopefully there'll be, I was telling my husband tonight, there's going to be merch. I made my first t-shirt. I haven't got it on the site yet, but it's like, he just laughed at me. I said, well, okay, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy a coffee mug because I need a new coffee mug. But right now you can find my links to all my social on there as well. I'm on Twitter.
Great. Okay. Instagram. We'll post that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really will get you the site as well. My Bandcamp page is down there. SoundCloud, there's some free downloads from my older stuff.
Sure.
And again, every genre, I've written classical, I've written pop, I've written jazz. I play it all, I do it all. In fact, I actually did a tone poem for an orchestra here in the Twin Cities as well, back in 2006. So it's been a while, but that's on my one of my pages as well, my Reverb Nation page. But pauldavidmusic.net will get you me. There's a contact form. Reach out if you're a musician. Let's connect. If you need to talk about it, if you're a young musician and you need just to talk about what you're going through because you got some bad reviews or you don't know where to go, reach out. Let's have a conversation.
Excellent. So you'll be able to play those songs on there.
Yep, all of them are on there. The Artist Prayer, which is my newest single, is the first. That's the cover, and then you're going to hear a couple of different versions of other music, and then in the music page you'll have all of the singles that I've released. Talked about Superhuman, We Can Be Free, the We Can Be Free dance mix, as well as a couple of older tunes from my first CD in 1997.
Nice.
That's going to be on there. A couple of tracks. Yeah.
So you redid those?
I didn't. The original. I actually went to a studio. That was my first studio experience.
Nice.
That cost me a lot more money. I got better as I went along, and they got cheaper. And then now it's just basically all the promotional pricing and what I pay my guitar player to add some tracks.
This is going to be a Minnesota night. Kevin tells a similar story. The chunk of money he blew on the first video is like, there's got to be a better way. So you guys are a lot alike.
Well, and so fun story. The artwork for Artist Prayer. I told you that I did the artwork for Superhuman. So the artwork for Artist Prayer is a picture from Père Lachaise Cemetery that I took in 1992. And I used to own a Victorian house here in East St. Paul. Money pit, a gorgeous stained glass window. So the stained glass window behind it is from my house in East St. Paul. And then my art director put them together and made this beautiful, beautiful cover, which turned out way better than it should have. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on, Paul. This is such a thrill. Come back anytime you have something to share.
Yeah. What's the next thing that's going to happen? Maybe you can come.
Yeah, well, next one I think is going to end up being Got On Fuck Myself. And I think the clean version is going to be Got On Wine Myself because I got to get radio play. But that one's so much fun and it's stuck in my head and it's got the sing drum. It's going to be just off the chart fun, dancing. And the lyrics are awfully cool.
Well, we
I'm
can do
pretty-
like a
pretty
short
pleased.
on that for you and promote it a little bit.
Yeah,
or
we can
whatever,
do a
Kick
reel
us,
or
tell
short,
us when
yeah,
it happens, and we'll do a little
Sweet.
thing or something.
It'll be a few months. I got to flesh out the horn parts. I
All
decided to scrap what I wrote and I'm going to rewrite the horn section. But yeah, because it's got a
Nice.
whole horn solo in the middle. It's going to be just
You are so
monster.
creative.
Yeah. I
Oh
love
my
it.
goodness,
Thanks,
you're like
man.
a creation
Yeah.
machine. Well, come on back sometime.
Yeah,
Okay,
Paul
we had a
David,
lot of fun
everyone.
tonight.
We really
All right,
appreciate
thank you.
it. As always,
Really appreciate the
subscribe,
time, guys.
share the podcast, comment. Leave us your comment, leave us your
Absolutely.
feedback.
All
Excellent.
right.